We are 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. So while we are reminded of the meeting being recorded, I would like to formally welcome all of you guys. My name is Letitia Grayling. I am part of the WIOGEN team, who I'll introduce to you very shortly. And I will be just doing a quick welcome. Welcome to our big international conference on ocean governance. We have over 300 participants. We keep on placing bets as the numbers keep on going up. That will join us today over the next 3 days as well. So this is our kickoff day for it. As you guys know, this meeting will be recorded. I know you guys have consented to that in the registration, but please be aware of that because we'd like to share this with a broad public, especially the people who couldn't make it. Just, can I check if everyone can see my screen? Everyone see my screen all right? Okay, thanks very much. So just a very quick and warm welcome. Good morning and a good afternoon to everyone joining us so far. We've got a jam-packed 3 days ahead of us. Let me quickly introduce you to the organizers of this conference. It's been organized jointly by the two coordinating institutions for the WIOGEN project, ZMT, Rebecca, Hauke, and Hannah joins us from Germany, and myself and Shannon join you guys from South Africa. We're with the IOI's Southern African region.
Letitia, sorry, just to interrupt, we can't actually see your screen.
Oh. Thank you very much. I wonder how that happened. Just as I was saying, we're all getting fantastically organized with, I wonder, let me quickly see. Okay. There we go. So there's our conference organizers. And I see I am now also getting internet connection problems. Can everyone hear me all right? Is that all right?
Yes, and we can see your screen.
Okay, fantastic. So just to repeat very quickly, the 5 of us have been involved in organizing this conference, the two organizations, the institutions forming part of WIOGEN, ZMT, our colleagues from Germany, Rebecca, Hauke, and Hannah, and myself and Shannon joining you from South Africa. We were IOI-SA. Also, just a very quick but sincere thank you to our funders and also all our partners who provide support on this project. All their details are available on our website, and we have Jacqueline Uku joining us from WIOMSA, one of our key partners in this project, in the WIOGEN project, who's going to do a formal welcome for us just now. Just to confirm that this is not going to be a traditional scientific conference. It's really a platform between lots of different researchers, policymakers, practitioners, and educators from various disciplines in the natural, social, and economic environments. And we want people to really have a meaningful network, have great presentations and discussions around innovations and trends and concerns and challenges around the WIO region's ocean governance aspects. It's hopefully everyone had received the conference program or the conference schedule online. For the details, you will find the hyperlinks for each of the sessions in that has been circulated. As you're aware, we've got 8 themes that we're going to be exploring, especially over the next 2 days. We've got 3 days, our third day being taken up a lot on our focus on science to policy and policy discussions with the Nairobi Convention, and we're one large network and growing continuously. Oopsie. Just some quick housekeeping rules. Please remember to mute when you're not speaking, but we welcome, especially when we have questions and answer sessions, for you to unmute yourself and share your insights. Please turn on your video where possible and make sure you camera ready, even if you're still having breakfast or lunch or something like that, so that we can take some ad hoc videos every now and again, screenshots of all the participants. As with any in-person professional engagements, please, when we are engaging with each other, we do that in a kind way, a respectful way, and a professional way. Keep an eye out on the chats. There's a lot of information being shared on the chats, links to go to, further information and all of that. And we look forward to getting your insights and comments. And without further ado, I'm going to open the floor to Jacqueline Uku, who's our president, who's the president of WIOMSA. And she is also with Kemfree, based in Kenya. And she is going to take us through just a formal welcome for this conference. Jacqueline, over to you.
Thank you very, very much. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to thank the conveners of this meeting for the warm invitation to provide a few welcoming thoughts and remarks around the work that we'll be doing over the next few days. I hope everyone can hear me well.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm happy to note that this conference has brought together leading academic scientists, researchers, and policymakers, and all in an effort to exchange and share experiences, research results on aspects of ocean governance from our region, a huge region, a region that is very strongly networked, which is the Western Indian Ocean region. From what I've read through the program, I see a range of topics for different presentations, and I believe that this will be a very strong platform for sharing across disciplines, and I look forward to hearing about the recent trends, innovations, as well as solutions that can promote policy interventions and support our livelihoods. I wish to stress the livelihood part because the ocean means everything to us. For us, both in the WIO and globally, life on Earth. The United Nations calls the oceans the lungs of the Earth, simply because they generate most of the oxygen we breathe from marine plants such as seagrasses, mangroves, phytoplankton, kelp, and other types of plankton, algal-based plankton. And all these plants produce oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis. So as long as we discuss oceans, we are discussing life in its essence. And we'll be discussing aspects on this platform that impact us all, from the communities at the grassroots to those on the higher echelons of governance systems in our nations. And I do believe that the dialogue we will have will provide very important lessons on how to safeguard the important functions of the ocean. As you all know, we are currently in the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. And I believe as a region, we have a very, very unique opportunity to engage our ocean science community in achieving SDG goals. And I believe that what we do locally and regionally in these next few days will have a wide global reach. And I already see that when I see participants from outside the region, from Europe, from Asia, joining us on this platform. And that is incredible. The next few decades will be pivotal for us. We need to address pressing ecological and economic issues in our region. We need to safeguard our high biological diversity, productivity, and emerging economies that are part of our blue economy. It is really, really important that we take the front lane and we be at the forefront of the sustainable development and blue economy initiatives as we package them and work with them so that they become sustainable in safeguarding our oceans and its functions. From the topics that I have looked through, I've seen great work that will be shared in sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, marine spatial planning, integrated coastal zone management, biodiversity conservation, pollution and habitat loss. I've seen a large session on ocean accounting, SDGs and ocean governance, co-design, transdisciplinary research, how we engage stakeholders, deep sea research, legal and institutional analysis of marine governance. This is a great array of topics, and I really congratulate the organizers for putting all this together. And I do know that we'll have great discussions and great learning around these issues. I do know that there'll be a mix of high-profile keynote speakers, but I also want to recognize the presence of highly motivated early career researchers from our region and abroad, because they energize and provide a lot of support to the aspirations that we as older scientists have aspired for our region. And all this has come together on this platform, and I would really like to commend the role that WIOGEN plays to supplement the activities of WIOMSA and the Nairobi Convention. This is a very special collaboration. It has helped researchers from our region to connect with each other, to network, to develop skills that are much needed to address societal and ecological issues that threaten the livelihood of our populations. And I'm really grateful to these organizations. I also wish to note that WIOGEN has partnered with WIOMSA to ensure that we produce a special edition for the Western Indian Ocean Journal of Marine Science from this conference. And I look forward to that publication, because it will be a great way to document what the science has achieved, policy recommendations, which we can then move forward and advance, simply because they will form a platform of good peer-reviewed work that we can apply. I'd like to see us in the coming days beyond this meeting to see how we can move beyond the virtual platform to make impact where it matters through innovative ideas and solutions that we generate in the next few days of this meeting. I believe that we'll have a great opportunity to interrogate the science and push it forward to the policy user interface. And one thing I'd like us to achieve, and I'm really hopeful that we will, is to demystify the processes needed to make an impact at the policy level and give a voice to the ocean which cannot speak for itself. As I end my remarks, I want to wish you all well as we engage in the next few days of dialogue. I wish you a great learning experience on this virtual platform. I'm deeply impressed that we have about 300 participants, and I wish you well. Great learning and a great time of networking. Thank you and welcome all.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, and a round of applause for Jacqueline for those sincere words, but also just reminds us of why we're here and the role that we play. Thank you very much, and it's always nice to see fellow scientists in positions of, decision-making and authority. Thanks very much, Jacqueline. Much appreciated, much appreciated. Okay, everyone. Without further ado, let me quickly give you a little bit more background on our organization and the network. I know a lot of you guys are already part of the network, and we're always nice to see familiar faces, but our big focus is also on new faces. And this is one of the reasons why we've also brought together this conference, not just to see familiar faces, but make more friends and learn more from each other. So we are the Western Indian Oceans Governance and Exchange Network, if you might not have picked that up, WIOGEN. And we have various governance themes under which this conference has been coordinated, but also that makes up various different working groups within our network from various different institutions and individuals within the region. And out of those working groups, we also then have a management committee. It's a very democratic process that we coordinate and run all of this with. We then also want to give a special word of thank you for this management committee and a lot of our chairs of our our working groups for the role that they've played in not just assisting with this conference, but you will also meet and engage with a lot of them at over the next couple of days, as they'll be chairing some of our sessions, poster sessions, as well as our presentation sessions. And a big thank you for all of them and the role that they've played in this conference as well. We do various things, and we've highlighted just some of our key achievements under the network. There's a big focus on capacity building, various training events ranging from science to policy communications, how to write policy briefs, virtual writing retreats, stakeholder engagement, marine spatial planning, looking at the social and cultural aspects, and a whole range of these that have been done, some in person, and in the last couple of years, a lot more virtually as well. We also have a big focus on STEMs, and this is not our traditional STEMs, but these stand for scientific and training exchange missions, where we have institutions and individuals partnering up and networking with each other and going to work on shared research and outcomes. There's a very big, strong focus on early career scientists and female scientists. And we do quite a lot of work on assisting them with improving their research, their publications, writing capabilities, but also learning and being mentored from other experienced scientists. Big focus on information sharing. So you will see we have a very active and interesting website. We're quite active on social media. So I just want to remind you, everyone that is on social media, please feel free to tweet about the conference and post things on Facebook. All the hashtags were circulated via email. And then we're also looking to try and facilitate ways for increased publication so we can share all the research and scientific knowledge that comes out. And I just want to make a special note here that we have also, through our partnership with WIOMSA, we have worked with the Western Indian Ocean Journal of Marine Science, and they will be bringing out a special edition specifically on ocean governance associated with this conference, where all of the people presenting on posters and in oral presentations over the next couple of days will have an opportunity to submit a journal paper or a policy brief that can go into this special edition. So keep an eye out for that. That'll come out sometime next year. But number one by far in our WIOGEN network is our networking, and we have connected and continue to connect. Currently, there's well over 100 active individuals and institutions in the network, and we would love for more people to join us so that we can further our networking and shared research and engagements and insights. So please feel free to join us, join our network. It's free. We've got join one of our working groups, establish a new working group, and you can find a lot of that detail on our website, but also the email address that has been communicating with you throughout the process. Our big focus is on policy development. So the first couple of days, today and tomorrow, will be on presentations and posters. And on day 3, I'm going to hand over to Dixon, who's going to tell us a little bit more. He's the coordinator in the Secretariat of the Nairobi Convention, and they are facilitating some fantastic discussions and debates on day 3 around policy and the big focus on that. So over to you, Dixon.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to probably thank the organizers of this conference for putting it all together. Thank the Western Indian Ocean Governance Exchange Network, WIOGEN, the IOI and WIOMSA for holding an online conference. Thank you so much for doing that. We want to associate ourselves with the conference because the conference actually builds on most of the work we're doing on ocean governance and the discourse we have on ocean governance. And probably the best place to start is simply to say that ocean governance is understood as a process of managing trade-offs between governments, industry, and the civil society within the mandated institutions. Is already a very mandated institutions and capacitated institutions is already a very difficult subject. Just from the definition, it's already a challenge. Of course, underlying that the context is and perspectives are both global and cuts across all levels. The context is also in delivery regional for an institution like ours, the Nairobi Convention. We operate at the regional scale. And of course, we also do understand that the delivery of that content must be national and sometimes even at the local levels. That means the mangroves, the corals, the kelps are best managed at the local level, or national or local level. So it's a complex, subject matter. If simply left at ocean governance, it's understood or it's not well understood. It seems very abstract. So management actions that take place at the local level are absolutely important. So as we speak today, as we go through the next 3 days, it's good that we reflect on our linkages from local to the globe. And from our perspective, what I want to highlight here is that we have, of course, a regional mandate as Nairobi Convention. And of course, within that regional mandate, we have collaborative partners at the regional scale. That's where WIOMSA, IOI, and of course, WIOGEN comes in place. So how do we link at the supra-regional, Africa-wide, and to the globe? And I want probably to help us reflect on some decisions that were made by the Africa Ministerial Conference on Environment in 2015, I think it was. And in those decisions of 2015, the Africa Ministerial Conference on Environment supported or simply supported programs in Africa that support what they call, or what they still call, the Africa Integrated Maritime Strategy and Agenda 2063 on ecosystem-based management approaches for marine resources in the exclusive economic zones and adjacent waters. That opens the gates for, when we talk about adjacent waters, it opens the gate for us to interact on discourse at the global level. They did not stop there. They simply went a little bit further and provided content that it's not just ecosystem-based management approaches. They wanted to see development of marine spatial planning tools, area-based planning tools, work on marine protected areas, valuation of natural capital as it relates to oceans, and they wanted to see partnership built. So that AMSEN decision provides us a very good backdrop on what we are doing. And of course, they did not also stop on activities. They also urged African governments to develop an ocean governance strategy in accordance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And the purpose for this reflection is twofold. Number one, to provide a backdrop for support for this conference and to emphasize on why the capacity developed in this process or the information generated in this conference is so vitally important for the work that we all do. The second part is that the scientific papers or weighed opinions that will be shared in this meeting, including the capacity that's being built through this meeting, is of great importance, again, from the local to the national level. Having said that, probably will permit me to also reflect on our role as a platform for dialogue between stakeholders involved in ocean governance as a convention. Our role actually is to help amplify the expert messages with practical examples that may be generated from such a meeting. For example, the messages that will come from here must reach the regional economic commissions so that we have very good linkages with. Why should that happen? The regional economic commissions influence decision-making at the Africa level, and decision-making at Africa level influences what each country does. And we have an opportunity to influence what each country does with its economic exclusive zones. But also the most important message is that we must reach governments. National institutions and national governments are central in providing the enabling environment through which all stakeholders, all experts can act and steer this ship that we call healthy oceans and wealthy communities to deeper, tranquil waters, especially in this time where our oceans are in peril. So as we reflect in the next 3 days, we must also think about how do we really influence governments to take the messages that will come from the wealth of expertise assembled in this conference? Because only when these messages get to the right people do we get action on oceans. I'll thank you and wish you a fruitful 3 days. Great, thanks.
Thank you so much, Dixon. Thank you so much. And everyone, please tune in for day 3, where we will be unpacking a lot of this even further with the Nairobi Convention, and you'll hear a lot more around that. Thanks for that lovely background, Dixon. Appreciate that. Okay, and now without further ado, it feels like I should have drum rolls or something like that. I would like to introduce our first keynote speaker. She comes with a wealth of knowledge, but also a lot of practical experience. Angelique is joining us. She has worked in different countries, including our region, but also in the Caribbean and the Pacific, on a wide range of projects. She is related specifically to sustainable fisheries, management of sustainable marine resources, biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, big advocate of and expert in climate change management, and particularly on climate adaptation and climate finance. She is the CEO of the organization called CCAT, based in the Seychelles, called Seychelles Conservation and Climate Adaptation Trust. And she will be talking to us in her keynote address on how do we move from sectoral to holistic ocean management, and looking specifically on one of the case studies, how Seychelles will take this opportunity. Angelique, thank you very much for joining us, and we would like to give her a warm welcome as our first keynote speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's an absolute honor to deliver this keynote, and really grateful for the organizers organizing such a conference. So I'm going to get started. So good morning, everyone. It is fitting that I am delivering this keynote address from Glasgow at the start of the conference of the parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is one case in point of the evident need to move from sectoral to a holistic ocean management, but we'll get to that shortly. I thank the organizers again of WIOGEN for inviting me to deliver this keynote address this morning. As introduced, my name is Angelique Pouponneau. I am a lawyer by profession. Apologies, I've just had to do a lateral test for COVID, which is a safeguard for entering COP venues, but just causing some irritation. And so I start again. As introduced, my name is Angelique Pouponneau. I'm a lawyer by profession, having had experience in the tribunals and the courts of the Seychelles, and also served as the 6th Committee of the United Nations with the African Group, where lawyers come together to address international legal problems with a focus on ocean and law of the sea. As already mentioned, I'm currently the CEO of the Seychelles Conservation and Climate Adaptation Trust, a trust fund mobilizing resources to support the Marine Spatial Plan with a special focus on the 30% marine protected areas in the Seychelles. But today's hat is really one of a lawyer who has hung out with many scientists and been involved in the marine spatial planning process of the Seychelles. So my caveat today is that I am speaking as an individual and not necessarily wearing any particular hat. When we speak, I guess typical lawyer, right? Let's get the T and C's down. But when we speak of ocean management, we have to go back to the Constitution of the Sea. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, often referred to as UNCLOS, and I will be using this acronym during the keynote. When crafting the Constitution of a Law of the Sea, it's almost clear that we did not have enough scientists in the room. I do not seek to be overly critical of UNCLOS, but rather that it is often ignored it often ignores the connectivity of ecosystems and habitats we are working with within the ocean space. UNCLOS is a framework convention and takes a sectoral approach to ocean management in many ways. Once we had finally agreed the extent of the exclusive economic zone, found the right balance of the high seas freedom and national jurisdiction, UNCLOS looked at the uses of the sea and takes them almost chapter by chapter, and each creating its own institutional arrangements with very loose ways of providing for cross-coordination between these sectors. So let's take a moment and concretize this in our minds. And let me give some example. Let's take fishing. Here we have a sector mostly working with the Food and Agriculture Organization, regional fisheries management organizations at the helm. So on one hand, these RFMOs, regional fisheries management organizations, may operate regionally, and there are many examples of that in our region, or it can be based on a species. And we also have examples of that within our region. And here I'm thinking of the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. To add to this complexity is that each RFMO are not provided with the same mandates nor the same level of resources to be able to deliver on their mandates. Let's look at deep seabed mining, governed by the International Seabed Authority out of Jamaica, and driven by a whole different structure with an assembly, a legal technical commission, and so on. When it comes to navigation, shipping, we have the International Maritime Organization based in London with their own very many committees and different sessions to address shipping. So what is clearly missing? It seems that climate change, for example, was not at the forefront of the mind of negotiators. We have only one reference to ambivalent baselines, which is nearest to what could probably be foreseen to be related to, or could not related to climate, but maybe applicable to climate. Today at COP26, we are seeking to find ways to better integrate ocean with the UNFCCC process. UNFCCC process, of course, to mean the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We have started by securing the IPCC report, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change on the Cryosphere and Ocean, and an ocean climate dialogue with the Nairobi Work Program. This is a knowledge exchange platform which has been focused on ocean in 2019. It has been met with some resistance as it serves some countries not to have these discussions. You know, the usual negotiation tactic. We should be talking about it over there. For example, if a shipping matter to address the shipping sector to make sure that it is aligned with 1.5 degrees, oftentimes you hear that we should be talking about it over there in London. And when in London, of course, oh, this is climate change related. We should be talking about it at the UNFCCC. Of course, what that means is it never goes addressed. And instead, a jurisdictional fight of playing who should do what. Another example is, and these have emerged over time, anthropogenic underwater noise. As we better understand how many of the activities we are undertaking as humans are affecting marine mammals, and how management of these activities should be taken into consideration to have an ecosystem-based adaptation. We've already heard from our colleagues from the Nairobi Convention. It's clear that environmental issues are typically dealt regionally, and we have the regional seas programs under the UNEP. But the challenge here is also where does the region start and where does the region end? And oftentimes, because of ocean current and connectivity, the region is often much wider than the parties to regional conventions. UNCLOS itself does not seek to provide all the answers. Besides, it's a framework convention, but it provides for the need for coordination, the need for cooperation, but it seems to provide us with a political way forward rather than a legal one. It would require a whole lecture on whether this is the right way forward or not. So let's not get too much into that. The typical examination question in any Law of the Sea module is about the need for integrated ocean management. My keynote will zoom in on the Seychelles, but I also want to show that the international community is currently exploring the opportunity to have integrated ocean management through the negotiations of the legally binding agreement on marine conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction. In short, BBNJ. I will be referring to it as BBNJ negotiations. Governance remains a cross-cutting issue that is receiving a lot of attention. We have a regional model, a hybrid model, the global model, but here are just a few observations. The phrase does not undermine UNCLOS has been interpreted to retain the status quo with a very clear sectoral approach, steering many of the actors away from having a global approach where there is one node that can support the coordination of others. Whether this is right or wrong is not my intent to ponder on, but just to say that this is what is taking place, or the discussions taking place at the international level. Others are quite keen to see a global approach with a body providing for coordination with scientific advisors, amongst other things, to ensure the objectives of the BBNJ agreement is being attained more broadly. And some have adopted a hybrid of the two in terms of their position. Most recently, a paper was written on an even more complex arrangement, which is a polycentric approach when it comes to coordination. And here is having an understanding of the interplay between regional, sectoral, and global conservation institutions in the areas beyond national jurisdiction. So the polycentric approach, and there's an excellent paper on this, is any governance system with multiple interacting decision-making centers with some degree of autonomy. There are pros and cons for each, but my reference is only to say that we are currently, right now, as it stands, have an opportunity as the international community to decide whether we retain a more sectoral approach, whether we go more holistic in terms of ocean integrated management, and this is specifically in particular with areas beyond national jurisdiction, or whether we're getting even more creative with ideas like polycentric approaches. And this is a decision that is very much similar to a decision that had to be taken in Seychelles a few months ago. But let's zoom in on the Western Indian Ocean in the Seychelles. So Seychelles ratified UNCLOS in 1992. It initially took a sectoral approach, both institutionally and through its various legal framework. We can see this from ministerial portfolios and the institutions that were set up. I'll just give a few examples here. For fishing, we had the Fisheries Act and the Seychelles Fishing Authority. For navigation, we had the Seychelles Maritime Safety Administration, now has become authority, and the Merchant Shipping Act. Environment was dealt with through the Environment Protection Act and the National Parks and Conservancy Act for marine protected areas. Following Rio +20, Seychelles embarked on the Blue Economy journey, both a destination and a journey. As part of this, it sought to set up a series of institutions to support better coordination. On one hand is the Blue Economy Department that was established in 2015 to support overarching policy coordination. Another institution was the Blue Economy Research Institute to support the research needs to develop a blue economy. And then we had the National Institute for Science, Technology, and Innovation that would support science, tech, and innovation. And finally, the organization I currently lead, which is supporting the Seychelles Conservation and Climate Adaptation Trust, which is to support financing, sustainable financing for the blue economy. The intention was to some extent to assist with cross-cutting approaches. And I'd like to take a moment to focus on the Blue Economy Department. It is intended to be a policy coordination body. The Blue Economy Department was initially under the ministry responsible for finance, economic planning, and blue economy. It subsequently moved to a more cross-cutting and overarching approach. It moved to the Vice President's office of the government of Seychelles, and here it really sat above all ministerial portfolios. This overarching aspect has had its positive approach for integrated ocean management, but it did raise some issues with having what felt like a big brother, perhaps a sustainability big brother even, that often meant that the work of ministries were being queried by another office. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, it's yet to be extremely clear or assessed. But the mandate of the department is to provide strategic direction and coordination of the blue economy implementation as part of the continued sustainable development of Seychelles. Today, the Seychelles' Blue Economy Department now sits with the ministry responsible for fisheries and the blue economy. This is said to intend to bring better coordination. As you can imagine, before that, it was the Vice President's office very much speaking to the Fisheries Department, and now they sit under the same ministerial portfolio. But of course, that brings other issues into question. Blue economy is not only about fisheries, and does sitting it under a line ministry allow it to have the cross-cutting approach it was intended to have? And let's now go into really the nitty-gritty of things. In 2014, we started a marine spatial planning process. The Seychelles Marine Spatial Plan is an integrated, multi-sector approach to address climate change adaptation, marine biodiversity protection, and support the blue economy and national strategies. And as part of that process, also to identify 30% of marine protected areas. The success of an MSP, and this is the experience we have had, is of course stakeholder buy-in, governance, and finance. As sustainable finance, I should say. As part of the process, the opportunity to address governance arose. Through an Msp Stakeholder Consultation process, a consultancy was undertaken to investigate what governance options would work for the MSP. This did take place, and let me share with you the options that were explored. The first, would the Marine Spatial Plan of the Seychelles would be under the oversight of the Department of Environment? You know, they had 30% marine protected areas involved. Should it go under environment? This was not supported by all stakeholders. It was felt that they would be too conservation oriented. We then had, of course, the Blue Economy Department. And I've spoken to you about a little bit about their mandate. Only challenge here was it did not have legal authority in terms of an act of its own. And now, of course, the additional challenge is it sits under a ministerial portfolio, and that hinders to an extent cross-cutting coordination. What about the planning authority? Town and country planning, but in essence to extend to coastal and marine areas. That was explored. It already had its own act, but still stakeholders felt it would be too development oriented. What could possibly be another option? And here the stakeholders came up with a solution themselves. An independent ocean authority that would sit under the president's office and have its own law. So that's right, an independent ocean authority sitting under the president's office. This is again to address the cross-cutting issue and of course to give it legal authority. So how would it work? I'm really glad I'm at the climate change conference. So it helps. It reminds me very much of a very similar architecture of the Paris Agreement. Essentially, you would have an umbrella authority. The authority would not engage in on-ground implementation. This would, of course, remain with the line agencies, ministries and agencies, Coast Guard, Seychelles Fishing Authority, the Seychelles Maritime Safety Authority, protected areas managers, but there would be a reporting obligation on how they have contributed to the MSP or had challenges. So you would see a reporting mechanism. This would help with aggregation of results and data from the marine spatial planning process, and especially when thinking about marine protected areas, to understand any biological changes and understand how this is affecting other socioeconomic indicators. But in addition to that, in order to report, there would also be reporting of weaknesses and challenges. And this would help with understanding the needs of implementing bodies, and then that would then be channeled to the relevant bodies in order to mobilize resources to support them. The opportunity arose. Did Seychelles take it? The stakeholders of the MSP chose, to my mind, integrated ocean management, where there would be a body striving to an overarching approach and connecting all the pieces through the establishment of the Seychelles Ocean Authority. This did require cabinet approval and went to cabinet, in fact, on several occasions, and the drafting of legislation. In 2021, it was brought back to Cabinet, and Cabinet opted to have, and here I'm speaking of the Cabinet of Ministers, opted to have the MSP governance sit under Environment through the Environment Protection Act for an interim process before moving it to become an independent ocean authority. The idea is to understand to what extent, how workable by providing an interim solution. This is an iterative process. It is the first time that the Seychelles is undertaking such a process. So it currently, we're working towards the operationalization of this decision. But the idea is for at least the first 18 months, possibly 2 years, it will be sitting under Environment, and we will use the lessons learned and information gathered to then transition to an independent ocean authority. Did we take the opportunity? To an extent, we did. We didn't close the door on the discussion, but to an extent, we really did not. Watch this space. In 18 months, it will come again as we test at the MSP governance under the Ministry of Environment as the lead and the Environment Protection Act. I thank you. You're on mute, Letitia.
Oh, that's weird. You're still on mute. Well, we can't hear you. But
Hi, can we hear you? We can hear you.
okay, can you hear me, hopefully? Because we can't hear Letitia. So in the meantime, I'll say thank you very much, Angelique. You are truly one of my ocean governance heroes. So it's always a very special honor to be able to hear you. And thank you so much for joining us today. One of our priorities here is also to be able to have some discussion. So if anybody has any questions for Angelique, we have a couple of minutes. You can raise your hand using the function in Zoom, or if you'd like to pop a question into the chat, that's also great. And then, yeah, we just have a couple of minutes, and then Angelique has to go save the world at COP26. No pressure. Any questions? Feel free to raise your hand.
Hello.
Ah, there we go. We can hear Letitia.
Okay. I have no idea what happened there. Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Thanks, Shannon. Questions? Yeah. No, I'll let you finish this off, Shannon. I'll let you finish this off.
So Angelique, I have a question for you. Seychelles is an example of something really good that can be done through working together and collaboration and innovative solutions. How would you recommend other countries start on that track? What's your first step for getting things right? I mean, that's a very big question, I know, but it would be interesting to hear your guidance.
So my advice to all countries, and of course it always depends on who's asking it, but I would, the thing that you really need is political will. Right? That has to be number one. Your governments need to value the importance of ocean governance, and they need to understand why it's so important. And I mean, there's an ocean accounting session later on, but, also speaking to them in a language that is closest for them to understand, just not, this is good and for the sake of it being good, but it makes economic sense as well. And it means saving resources in addition to cost efficiency, in addition to good ocean coordination. So that would always be my first advice. Make sure you have that political will, and then make sure you have the right partners on board. And I don't think we should limit partnerships to just local partners. We should be thinking about international partners. We should also be thinking about how we institutionalize, and this is one example, but how we institutionalize knowledge sharing. We don't all have to start from scratch, right? The wheel has been invented, different things have been tried. Today I shared some of the Seychelles experience. There's a lot that, and definitely I wouldn't be able to fit it in the time allocated, but provide us a way for all countries to get together and really share those experiences and find out how we can work together to ensure that we're not repeating the same mistakes, we're learning from our lessons, and then we're going on to implement it within our contexts. I don't want to say that there's a one-size-fits-all scenario. We need to be very aware of the different contexts within which we're working. That would be my advice.
Thanks, that's great advice. There's a question in the chat. It says, Angelique, what are some of the contentious issues or areas would you suggest to be looked into under the UNCLOS framework to better manage the oceans?
Oh, that's a big one. And I just want to share with you, when I was a student doing Law of the Sea, I was almost adamant that, we need to revise portions of UNCLOS. I then went to work at the United Nations, and we're probably not going to do that. So it's really good to understand, this was a big achievement for the international community, and unraveling it could lead to delicate balances that we've achieved through UNCLOS. What I suggest should be looked at under the framework is thinking about how we are formalizing legally coordination and cooperation. Like UNCLOS makes provision that we should, but it doesn't provide us with any further guidance. And maybe doesn't need to be in UNCLOS. I don't want you to think that we need to add to UNCLOS at this point. Maybe doesn't need to be in UNCLOS, but we really need to think about how we're formalizing these coordinations, how we're creating these synergies. Right now, I'm 100% sure in the next 2 weeks, there are going to be so many arguments about what should not be discussed here and that should be dealt with at WTO or the IMO or wherever else. And with that, I've only been to one conference, and that was the Marine Regions Forum in 2019 in Germany, where they actually brought what I'd call climate people, ocean people, shipping people, seabed mining people, and brought them all in a room. And I can assure you, many of us didn't understand each other because we operate in our silos, and we see that reflected across all countries, right? Line ministries, governments, working very much in silos. And whilst I don't have a sort of a direct answer for you with regards to relooking at any components of the framework, but really expanding and focusing on what does this coordination and cooperation look like, would certainly be something I'd be very intrigued to explore further.
Thanks, Angelique. We have another question in the chat. Ocean governance the chat just moved, has been for a long time a government affair. You talked of polycentric governance. How do you see this concept applied in the WIO context?
No, thanks for that. Yeah, so so there has to be many levels, right? And we have to think about the local, the national, the regional. And in the WIO context, we really do have RFMOs in the areas, we have UN, we have the regional seas programs in the areas, we have UN bodies in the areas. So we really think, we really need to think about how we're getting all the actors to really participate in the region. I mean, first of all, I think we need a mapping. We need a mapping to really understand what we have in place, how their mandates align, are there any overlaps? What are their challenges? Are there ways in which we can complement? For example, and I know you mentioned, does it need to be government focused? No, it doesn't. Let me give you an example where the Marine Spatial Plan really comes into play. Seychelles is a small island developing state. We do not have and with a EEZ of 1.35 million kilometers square. So we are, and by the way, the land ratio is 455 kilometers square and our ocean is 1.35 million. You can just imagine. We certainly do not have the resources to be having sophisticated technologies and the latest assets for our Coast Guards and our Air Force to be able to patrol this entire area. But what we do have is, through the marine spatial planning process, a decision-making process that was consultative and there was stakeholder buy-in. So for example, a fisher who's been involved within the process, or fishers who are involved within the process, are less likely to contravene the regulations in place if they participated in this, right? There's buy-in. They understand why it was done. They understand why this is important and why they shouldn't be contravening any of the regulations in place. For small island developing states, in particular, other developing countries with limited resources, that almost has to be part and parcel of governance. It has to be people, it has to be the authorities, it has to be government. So I think it really is a holistic ocean management also needs a holistic approach when it comes to people.
Thank you so much. And that is exactly why you're one of my ocean governance heroes. It was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am going to pass back to Letitia if she has found her voice.
I think I have. Again, it sounds fine on my side. I'm seeing some nods. All right. Okay. Angelique, we've got a few questions that's coming in directly to me as well, but unfortunately we are out of time. But I am going to encourage people, now that they've met you virtually, to engage, to follow up, to do all of that. And we wish you all the best of luck for the next set of few days at COP26 and all your discussions around that. Thank you for sharing your insights and all your experiences. Big round of virtual applause. For those that want to unmute, you can give her a round of applause, or otherwise, please use your icons. Thank you very much, Angelique. It was fantastic hearing your insights. And thanks, Shannon, for stepping in to take over so quickly with my technology problems. Okay, everyone, we're about to start our streams. So as you guys are familiar with the details, please go and have a look. So just to be double sure, hopefully everyone has opened up the program online. So there's a specific program, a link with a PDF document where all the links are associated with where we are on Zoom. Hauke has also very kindly put in some of the links here in between some of the other things. So please go and make sure that you guys get to the same links. We are starting, we've got 3 parallel streams that will start in a couple of minutes. The first stream is dealing with sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. Our second one is around biodiversity, pollution, and habitat. And our third stream is around legal and institutional arrangements. Hopefully everyone's got the links. So there's individual links for that. Please make sure you join your streams now. You have to join if you're one of the presenters in those streams. And hopefully all of our chairs have also pitched up now at this stage. Okay, with that, this session will remain here, but we will close that off for the streams. Please take your time, get into streams, and then we will see you back here after our streams. If there's any questions, welcome to unmute yourself. And we will see you back here in about an hour's time. No questions, no questions. See you in the streams.
Hi, Letitia.
Hi, Stephanie.
Yeah, it's Stephanie. Before I go to my stream,
Okay.
I know this is a housekeeping question, but I have to ask it here before I move.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
My co-chair, Critters, I don't think he has joined, and he's the first one to present. How should I handle such a matter?
If he is not there, then what will be is just give everyone a break for that session, Stephanie.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're welcome to introduce the session, but don't start with the other people. We're going to follow exactly the alignment with the program. So if he's not there, I think tell everyone they can take those 15 minutes, get a cup of tea, and they're welcome to join any of the other two streams for that first presentation.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that
you,
help,
Leticia.
Stephanie?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. The streams are starting their sessions. We still have quite a lot of participants here. Hopefully everyone has found the details for the streams. Stream 1. Stream 2. And stream 3 again, just quickly in the chat. I see there's still a lot of people in this session. Nothing will be presented in this session. Please join one of the streams. The session will be closing. The session will be closing. Please join one of the streams. Go and have a look at the chat function. Stream 1 is our fishery stream. Stream 2 is our biodiversity stream. And stream 3 is our legal and institutional stream. We still have a few people here. Everyone, the session will be ending. The streams are happening on the different streams are have already started. So please join stream 1, 2, or 3. The links for them are online. That's been shared with you on email, but also in the chat. To everyone still here, the streams have already started. There will be nothing in this session. Please join the streams. To everyone here, there is nothing in this session. The streams have already started. You need to join the links on the streams. So stream 1 is again the fishery stream. Stream 2 is the biodiversity stream. Stream 3 is the legal institutional stream. These discussions have already started. Wendy, did you not get the links on the on email?
Hello, I got an email with this link, but I don't see the other ones in the same link, in the same email.
Okay, have a look quickly on the chat I've just shared at that link.
Yes,
you will see that
perfect.
so there's a different hyperlink for each of the sessions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, I'll go there then. Bye. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye. To everyone else, please check the schedule. The parallel sessions have already started. you need to go and click on the specific session that you want to attend. The first session is on fisheries, second one on biodiversity, third one on legal and institutional arrangements. There's nothing presented in the session. You guys are all in the wrong session. Kieran, Lillian, Levi, Joy, Boaz.
Where is the link for the other session?
Which sessions are you looking for? Please go and have a look in the chat box. I've just shared with you.
I want to be in the sustainable fisheries
okay.
aquaculture.
Please go and can you see the link in the chat box?
Yes.
Okay, click on that. That opens up a PDF document for you. Once you're on that PDF document, you can then click on the different links that you want. They're all hyperlinked. It says stream 1A, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. You click on that link. 2A, biodiversity and conservation. You click on that link. 3A, legal and institutional analysis. You click on that link.
Okay, so.
Have you found it, Levi?
Yeah, so then you just stream 1A, you just click and it takes you directly there.
It takes you there. It'll ask you probably to end this session. I don't think it'll allow you to be on 2 different Zoom sessions. So it's better to end this session, leave this meeting.
You want to leave this
That's
meeting.
right. You want to leave this meeting and join the next one. Everyone else, Boaz, Joy, Rasha, Alicia, Deborah, Shima, Kieran, Joy. Please go to the different sessions. Please go to the different sessions. Hello, everyone. You come through to the wrong link. This is the plenary session. At the moment, the different sessions are in play. You need to go and have a look at the schedule, the conference program. I will post it again in the chat. Tommy, I see you've just joined. Nina, I see you've just joined. Please make sure you go to the link I've provided online in the chat. The different sessions are already starting. Stream 1 is the fisheries session. Stream 2 is biodiversity, pollution and habitat. Stream 3 is legal and institutional. These sessions are already underway. You need to go and join the specific links provided in that program schedule. Click on the different links to go and join that. Nina, can I help?
Sorry, so have we missed the opening remarks then?
Yes, yeah. We've been busy for about an hour, yes.
Oh, shucks. Okay, maybe I'm looking at the wrong schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, word. Okay, thank you so much.
Where are you joining us from, Nina? Where are you joining us from?
From South Africa.
Okay, so you got to go and download the Central European or South African Standard Time one. So we started at 9 o'clock. We're now at 9 minutes past 10. Yes. So you might be looking at the East African date, not the South African.
Okay, thank you so much.
So we're busy with streams at the moment. Please feel free to go and join one of the streams. And then we'll be back in plenary in just under an hour. We'll be back here. Okay. Tommy, Alicia, Shima, Deborah, Rasha, Eve Sub, Kieran and Joy. Can
Hi,
I help you?
hi, Letitia.
Hi, Tamsanka.
Yes, can you please assist me? I lost connection, so I don't have the link for stream 2.
Okay, I've shared it in the chat as well. Can you open the chats, Tammy?
Yes, I'm at the chats, but I don't have.
Okay, let me quickly share that again with you. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
so click on that, and then it'll take you to a PDF document, and you'll see all the different sessions have hyperlinks on them. So depending on which session you want to attend now, fisheries, biodiversity, or legal and institutional.
Conversation, yes.
Okay, all right. Then you'll go to stream 2A and you'll click on that and it'll take you there, but it'll ask you to leave this session first. Does that help, Tommy?
Okay, yes, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Okay, no problem.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Can I help anyone else? Kieran, Joy, Deborah, Rasha, Alicia, Shima, Eve's Hub. Can I help everyone else? Anyone else? Can I help anyone else? Hi, Hope. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Hope? Hope, can you hear me? You come through to the wrong session. Hope, can you hear me? You come through to the wrong session. Hope, can you hear me? You've come through to the wrong session. Please follow the chat. Go and have a look at the conference schedule, the program. All the different links are there for the different sessions. At the moment, there are 3 parallel sessions taking place. The first one dealing with sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. The second one dealing with biodiversity, conservation, habitat loss and pollution. The second one dealing with legal and institutional arrangements. They are of all different links. Nice. Hello. I see some people have joined us. There's nothing happening in this session. Can I help anyone with getting into the parallel sessions happening at the moment? I will share in the chat again. Please go and have a look. Please go and have a look at the chat. Please go and have a look at the chat. Bakamoso, can you hear me? Bakamoso, Nariman, can you hear me? Nariman, can you hear me? Nariman, can you hear me? if I can help anyone, please let me know. You've come through to the wrong session.